Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak, so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since they'd seen each other. Her mother thought that was a very good idea, and she packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. As Little Red Riding Hood started on her journey, she remembered what her mother had told her before she left. Go straight to Grandma's house. Don't dawdle along the way. And please don't talk to strangers. The woods are dangerous. Don't worry, Mummy, Little Red Riding Hood had said. I'll be careful. But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She knelt down among the flowers to smell their beautiful aroma. She listened to the frogs croaking. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer day so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly, the wolf appeared beside her.
What are you doing out here, little girl?
The wolf asked, in a voice as friendly as he could muster.
I'm on my way to see my grandma, who lives through the forest near the brook,
Little Red Riding Hood replied. Then she realised how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandma's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf, a little out of breath from running, arrived at Grandma's and knocked lightly at the door.
Oh, thank goodness, dear. Come in, come in. I was worried sick that something had happened to you in the forest,
said Grandma, thinking that the knock was her granddaughter. The wolf let himself in. He slammed the door behind him. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into Grandma's bed and pulled the covers up under his chin.
Who is it?
He called in a cackly voice.
It's me, Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, how lovely. Do come in, my dear,
croaked the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the cottage, she could scarcely recognise her grandmother. Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter? She asked.
Oh, I just have a touch of the cold,
squeaked the wolf. But grandmother, what big eyes you have, said Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, the better to see you with, my dear, replied the wolf.
Grandmother, what big teeth you have, said Little Red Riding Hood, her voice quivering slightly.
The better to eat you with, my dear, roared the wolf.
Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realised that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and grabbed the pitchfork that was resting against the wall. Although she was trembling with fear, she stood her ground and she yelled at the wolf.
What have you done with my grandma?
The wolf laughed at Little Red Riding Hood and said,
I gobbled her up, just like I'm going to gobble you up.
Little Red Riding Hood then charged at the wolf and knocked him over. The wolf fell backwards against the grandfather clock, and before he had time to move away, the clock crashed on top of him.
Help! Please help!
Little Red Riding Hood heard a voice coming from inside the big wooden chest. It was her grandma. The wolf must have shoved her in there. So Little Red Riding Hood lifted the heavy lid and let Grandma out. A few days later, Little Red Riding Hood said goodbye to her grandma and headed off back home. She promised never to talk to strangers along the way, and this time she kept her promise. The end.